Lots and lots of Democrats in the recent past have voted to repeal the medical device tax. It's unpopular with many of them and with all Republicans. I know that you warned against speculation, but that may well come back here, and lots of Democrats have voted for it. Would all Democrats vote against a repeal of that in this context?
Listen, I know you have been listening, but we want a clean CR. That's what we're going to get. If they want to shut down the government, here's how much time they have to figure it out. 4 days, 11 hours, 22 minutes, and 15 seconds. No. They can play around all they want. Some of the biggest supporters for doing away with the stupid tax, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, doing away with that tax have told me they will not support that on CR.
All right, folks, welcome back to this show. Steve Malzberg with you, and that was Harry Reid answering a question today about the device tax in the health care bill. He called it a stupid tax, but said that they would not even vote to do away with that in a continuing resolution. Joining us right now is our friend, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, former congressman from the great state of Florida, director of Next Generation TV. Hello, sir.
How you doing, Steve? And thanks so much for the privilege and honor of being able to guest host your show.
And I was just going to thank you for the privilege and honor of having you sit in my chair.
No, it was fantastic, and hopefully I didn't lower the standards.
Oh, cut it out! I don't even want to hear that nonsense. Thank you, and you and I go back a long way, and it was. I'm proud that you filled in, and I'm sure it'll happen again. But let me ask you before we get to Harry Reid's response here. You know, John Boehner gave a press conference today, and he talked about how he just, basically they focus on the debt ceiling, almost pushing the ball forward to the next fight. But refused, obviously, to say that they would give a clear and free continuing resolution in this fight, which is what Harry Reid and the Senate says is the only thing they're going to accept. So let me ask you this. Tell me what kind of leadership you think that John Boehner has been giving us. Is it the leadership that we need in Congress? And if not, do you believe it's time for a change?
Well, you know what, I have to tell you that without a doubt, Speaker Boehner's position is very difficult because unlike the Borg-like liberal progressives in the Democrat Party, he allows people to have their own separate expressions and thoughts and ideas and legislative proposals, and that can be very difficult. So, I'm not going to sit up here and point fingers at someone because I've never been a speaker. I was only in the House for 2 years, but I will tell you this. We do need to have principled voices that can stand up and articulate our legislative agenda as constitutional conservatives, as the Republican Party, and why we see things such as this massive debt that is stacking up against our country is a threat to our national security and our economic security. We need to talk about how we need some predictability in our budgeting process, and we need to talk about the things that are severely going to affect the American people, especially hardworking middle-income families, American families, when you look at the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, which today they just said here in Washington, D.C. It's not going to be ready to kick in on 1 October. The exchange is here. So I think that we can do a better job as far as messaging some of the pitfalls of this Affordable Care Act. But, I think for right now they're talking about pushing the CR together with the debt limit. They're going to fund the government for the next 2 weeks or so, and then in the middle of October we'll see what happens.
All right. Now, I guess you would agree, Congressman, that Boehner was dragged almost kicking and screaming because before the recess, Labor Day recess, and all that, before they came back at the end of August, they were out in their districts. The congressmen were, and they must have heard from their constituents because the leadership in no way had any stomach for it. Never said they would fight the continuing resolution. Yeah. Never said they would defund Obamacare. So let me just ask you this, without asking you to be critical or judgmental of the speaker. Certainly, it's the if you want to call it the Tea Party wing, I'll leave it for you to describe. But it's the other part of the party that has pushed the leadership to the point to where they have gone. And so, who do you see as maybe a leader in that part of the party that maybe is almost mainly responsible for pushing leadership to acquiesce and to have this fight?
Well, there's no doubt about it that the conservatives have made a stink about, standing up and continuing to fight against the Affordable Care Act. Every day we see something new and different about the failures and the faults and the shortcomings of the Affordable Care Act. And I don't think that many people wanted to have this discussion at this part in time as we get ready to go into a CR and also a debt limit discussion. So, yes, going back home for those 5 or 6 weeks in August, people got an earful. I believe that when you look at the effort, the grassroots effort from Senator Cruz, Senator Lee, Senator Rubio, and also Senator Paul, as well as some of the efforts you've seen coming out of the Republican Study Committee, which is the conservative House side, it has brought us to this point. And also, you now have a viable free market alternative for reform in healthcare in the United States of America called the American Healthcare Reform Act, which was produced with people such as Dr. Tom Price, who's a representative from Georgia, that emanated out of the House of Representatives. So, yeah, I don't think that people want to talk about it, but it is here, and I think that's great for the country because people don't like what has happened. If you're going to delay the employer mandate, then delay the individual mandate. We can't have these almost 2,000 waivers and exemptions to include members of Congress and unions and certain companies and also staff members up there on the Hill. We cannot have these cuts to Medicare. We cannot have these 16,000 new IRS agents. So these are the type of things that the American people understand, and we should level the playing field.
Right, and I had Senator Rand Paul on at the top of the show, Congressman, and he said, he pointed out exactly what you pointed out, the picking and choosing, the delaying whatever he feels he wants to delay, which he can't do constitutionally. He just keeps breaking the law.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, when you understand the separation of powers, the three branches of government, the Congress, the legislature, they pass laws. Once it gets to the president, he signs it. It's about him to implement and execute the laws, not cherry-pick the things that he wants. So if the president is going to set a certain standard, then it should be an equitable standard. I mean, if he is delaying certain parts, then obviously he does not have confidence in the Affordable Care Act being implemented. And let's just take a time out. That's all I think that people are looking at. Take a time out. We don't need to become a part-time working nation, which is what we have.
Yes.
We don't need to reclassify the full-time work week from 40 hours down to 30 hours. And even the unions, AFL-CIO, they don't like the direction this is headed.
Absolutely, and we're talking to Congressman Alan West here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Today, the president claimed that there is, get this now, no widespread evidence. You talk about Clintonese. There's no widespread evidence that the health care law is hurting jobs or the economy. Now, that just flies in the face of everything we've seen and read and heard and what's actually happening.
Well, this is also the same president who 2 weeks after the Benghazi incident stood at the United Nations General Assembly and blamed it all on a video. So, look, I cannot say it any other way, Steve, than to say that the president is lying to the American people. He has a bully pulpit. He has a complicit media. But I think the American people know what's going on, and the gig is up.
Yeah, and a couple more for you, and they both involve polls. First one, the Obama overall approval rating, according to a CBS News New York Times poll, is down to 43%. And in a YouGov poll out today, more Americans think that Vladimir Putin is doing a more effective job handling Syria than our own president.
Well, obviously so, because, when the president came in and look, he was late to the game. If you were going to do something in Syria, it should have been 2 years ago. The president didn't go for congressional approval in Libya. And look at the unintended consequences there of just rushing in and not having a clear, concise, strategic vision and policy. So here was the president not wanting to be stuck holding the bag on Syria. He decides to go over to the Congress. He realizes he's not going to get support. He's looking for a way out. And Vladimir Putin kind of ended up being the adult in the classroom instead of, as he said, the little boy sitting back in the back. So the president is his strategic vision as far as Middle East foreign policy. China is expanding. Look at what just happened recently in Kenya.
Yeah.
So Al-Qaeda is not decimated. They're not on the run.
And
so
look what he did at the UN with Iran. Basically, he stood there and he said, here's why Iran doesn't trust us, and here's why we don't trust them. Basically saying, Both they and us. We all have points legitimizing the fact that Iran doesn't like us.
Yeah, you gave them an out, and then the next thing you know, Mr. Rouhani snubbed him.
Yes.
So it's a total difference from when Ronald Reagan stood there and when he was asked to define the Cold War and victory. He said, "We win, they lose." They're very simple.
Yeah,
and that's what we're missing.
Absolutely, Colonel. Always a pleasure, sir, and
Thanks,
and we'll see you soon.
You got it.
Thank you. That's Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, ladies and gentlemen, former U.S. Congressman from the great state of Florida, and he's director of Next Generation TV. He's so right about the president, and he really belongs back in Congress. He is a voice that we really need in leadership in the House of Representatives, and maybe even beyond the House of Representatives. But of course, you know what he was running against. You know the attacks on his family, the phony attacks, the vicious attacks. What he went through down in Florida as they targeted him from the moment he won his seat 2 terms ago. Anyway, we're privileged to have him here on the show and as a friend of the show, and I was privileged to have him fill in. All right, folks, you want to weigh in? 855-777-9660. So what do you make of Harry Reid, the soundbite we played at the top of this hour? Harry Reid calling the medical device tax a stupid tax. Now, many Democrats have said that. Many Democrats don't like this device tax. For one, many don't like other aspects of it as well, the Obamacare plan. But Harry Reid says, nope. You give us a clean continuing resolution or you're closing down the government. So in other words, no negotiation, no room for talk, no room for compromise. Obama has already said that to Boehner about the debt ceiling. He said it today. I will not negotiate. The full faith and credit of the American taxpayers and the American government. So no negotiation on the CR, on the debt ceiling, daring Republicans to, quote unquote, shut down the government, when I interpret it as they're saying, you do what we want or we'll shut down the government. We're going to hit the debt ceiling October 17th. If there's no negotiation, if you're saying you take it or leave it, you give us what we want or you're going to be shutting down the government. No. If you're not going to talk to me and you're demanding I do what you do or I'll be shutting down the government if I don't go along with you, how about talking to me? Isn't it, and won't it be the people who won't talk, won't reach out, won't respond, won't negotiate, won't they be the ones shutting down the government? They're so confident that the media will blame Republicans that they're actually saying on both fronts, Reid on the CR, Obama on the debt ceiling, we will not talk to you, Republicans. And if you don't like it, shut down the government. But it's backwards. What do you think? 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax.